This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you drive long haul, short haul, or heavy haul, they're here to empower and inspire women in the trades on tncradio.live. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show that works to inspire and empower women in trucking, in the trades, and every profession. We tackle all kinds of topics, and we work to encourage women to be their very best with informative guests and women who've been champions. I'm Shelley, and
I'm Kathy.
No topic is not allowed on our rig. We tackle the tough topics along with the not-so-tough topics. And we like to feature experts and guests and celebrities who can assist women in being the very best they can be. Taking life in stride and leaning in are what all successful people learn to do, even when life throws us a curveball. Sometimes we need to be reminded of that to keep up our determination. Miranda O is the author of the Chin Up, Tits Out series. Her motto in life is to always have a chin up, tits out attitude, no matter what. Life is a wild ride, and sharing the twisted stories is what brings us together, according to Miranda. The stories in her book series are relatable and carry powerful life messages that all women can identify with a touch of comedy. The premise of her books carry the message that your life will change if you keep that positive mental attitude. Welcome, Miranda. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to be here.
I love the title of your book series. That's definitely something that will get ladies to stand up straight and listen.
Exactly. I feel like you don't even realize, but when you read the title, there's like the smallest movements in your physical body that like changes a little bit. You're like, for me, it makes me happy to kind of see the people do that when I see them face to face. It's been a while since I've been face to face with everybody the last couple of years, but
Sure.
you do see it. You definitely do see it, and it's pretty cool.
I actually did that when I saw your title of your book. I'm like, damn, yeah, hang on a second. I just popped those babies right out there. I honestly
Right?
did.
Get those sirens out there, right?
Exactly. It's a pretty cool thing. I still do it, and it's been years and years and years, and I probably will always do it. So it feels good that impacts other people the same way.
How did you come up with the title?
Oh, you know what? Funny story. It was kind of a saying that was always said in my house, but it wasn't that sassy. Growing up, my parents always kind of told me to stand tall, hold my head held high, and put your shoulders back.
Yeah.
So in a lot of words, you cut it down, you make it spicy, chin up, tits out. It kind of evolved, but it was a lesson that they had always instilled in us. We played sports. It was an intimidating game. My dad would say that before I'd step on the court or on the pitch. If I had a big presentation or a big project, I remember standing in front of theaters of people and having to speak. So nervous. And my parents were just like, hold your head held high, stand tall, stand confident. You may be crapping your pants, but don't make it look like you're crapping your pants. So that was what I found my main character coaching herself. Her internal voice kept coaching herself with chin up, tits out, chin up, tits out. And so it just seemed fitting to throw that as a series title.
Your series is a romantic comedy, correct?
Yes. I mean, and it's more comedy drama than full romance. You're going to find the lovey-dovey stuff in there, but you are going to find the ugly stuff. You are going to find romance on your own, because there's a little bit of that in the third book. Figuring out how to love yourself versus, figuring out how to love somebody else. So there's a lot of different angles of romance and lots of comedy through there as well.
I was reading that your first two books are a roller coaster ride of emotion. They have topics that are all relevant and have people actually reflecting on their own lives. Did you want to kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I'd totally be excited to talk about it. I mean, for me, talking about the difficult stuff makes it less difficult. And I was going through some challenging times. So instead of, just talking to my family or my friends or my therapist, it was, you know what, I'm going to just throw it all out there and see what comes back. And being able to write about the difficult stuff that I had gone through personally, and being able to share it with the world, it enabled me to heal myself. It enabled me to connect to other like-minded individuals that have led to different opportunities. And it was a process. Now I've done the 3 books and I'm working on my next project, and looking back on all the lessons learned personally, just to be able to get those books out was a huge reward for me. Now when I connect with readers, it's just gravy on top of that.
What has motivated you? Because your message, obviously there's an inner message there that helps the reader and draws them into the story and all of that. But this is something that really people can take away and go, you know what? That might just work.
You know what motivated me? I want to say hit rock bottom, but continuing to fall and hit your next rock bottom. And there's a little bit of that. And there's a little bit of, those moments where you are trying to convince yourself what you're doing is right, but your gut, deep, deep, deep down inside, you have that little voice saying don't do it.
Yeah.
But you try to convince yourself otherwise. And you start to list all the good, the positives. I did that for so long. I thought I was trusting my gut. And I did. I trusted my gut a lot, but over some big decisions, the big ones, the ones that change the whole trajectory of your life, I ignored them, and I don't regret them because they led me down to where I am today, and I love where I am today. But it was a tough path. Let's go through the toughest roads of them all, unprepared. That's what I chose to go down. I didn't take the easy route. I always decided to take the most challenging route. And so explaining to myself why I did that, but also trying to share the lessons that I've learned along the way. It was hey, you know what? You don't have to necessarily take the easy path, which is fine. Take the hard path, learn your lessons, but here's some ways to make sure that the lessons that you're identifying them at a proper time. And then you're able to, work through those roadblocks. And maybe it won't take you 10 years to figure it out. It might take you a couple of years. It might take you a year. It might take you a couple of weeks. Who knows? It might take you reading the book and then your entire life changes. I don't know. But for me, it was a long road. It was about a decade. And, I don't want somebody to lose a decade of what life could be beautiful, because you're not guaranteed tomorrow. So,
oh, for sure. Oh my goodness.
I was thinking the same thing. Listening to you talk, and that's what when I wrote my book, is this very same thing. There's no need to go down the path that I went, which was to hell and then back and then hell again and then back again and then hell again and then back again. So let me list out a few things here. Right? But no, listening to your inner voice, that gut feeling, that intuition has been critical in my own story. And I learned a long time ago to listen to them. And even though I don't understand the reasonings behind what's going on, that gut feeling is always right, 100%. So I really, even though I don't understand why I'm doing something sometimes, what the feeling for me is so strong, it pushes me almost. There's no way to explain it. I just have to do it. And moving to LA.
Yeah.
What person in their right mind at 53 who leaves a beautiful home, in northern Canada, where I live at the base of the Rockies, goes to LA, leaving everything behind with 3 suitcases to try and make another dream happen, right? I'm living in a crappy garage. It's but ever since I took that step and listened to that voice, it's the right thing to do. So
exactly.
Miranda, do you think that we don't listen to our inner voice enough?
Oh, I believe so. I think that we're driven by a lot of external forces, more external forces than we are our own internal forces. and I think it's because external forces tend to be a lot louder and you can see them. It's not necessarily a feeling. We're not taught to sit, well, in North America, at least, we're definitely not taught to sit in our feelings and to feel our own self. And as an adult now in our 30s, I'm trying to process still, like that's a challenge for me still to do. But if you actually do it and you teach yourself and you dedicate that time to yourself, then the inner voice becomes a lot louder than the outer voice. But yeah, I definitely think it's a challenge. It's hard. It's hard to sit in your own poo and think about, I'm doing this. I know I shouldn't be doing it. Why am I doing it? And like, that's sitting in your own drama, right? And it's not a comfortable situation at first. And then the more times you do it, then you realize it's so much easier. You just sit in it for a little bit and then move on versus having to sit in it for a long time to figure out, to untie the knots that you've made over the years.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Did you want to give us a summary of some of the knots that you ran into and had to untie in your life before you started the book series?
Well, I for sure can. I fell in love when I was 20, as did my main character. My main character is loosely based on what I went through. But I didn't want to write an auto, like a biography, just because I'm not cool. Like I live in the prairies in Canada and I live a very average life, but I had, in my mind, extraordinary is not the right word, but it's the only thing I can come up with. I had an extraordinary story. And I didn't come to terms with that or to the conclusion of that by myself. I was just told that I was consistently by anybody that I crossed paths with. And I decided to word vomit my life to. It happens way more than it should. So it was easy to get that feedback back. But so back to my story, fell in love with somebody that lived across the world, but was working in Canada where I was when we met. And we fell madly in love with one another. It was a first love.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided, you know what, this is going to be it. We're going to live in Canada. Everything is hunky-dory. Everything is good. We're good. We're great. Immigration process starts and we kind of get hit with roadblock after roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And if that wasn't enough red flags to be like, hey, the universe does not want you to go down this path, I kept fighting. I was determined to, bring my partner over here and start our happily ever after. So we had a long distance relationships for a few years, and then we ended up having to get married. We wanted to get married, but we wanted to get married on different circumstances. We had to get married to get him into Canada. So we did that. And then 6 months after he moved here, he was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And that brought up a lot of suppressed things. There was mental illness, there was addiction. The cancer just pulled out every kind of ugly that you could imagine. And so we ended up both losing our jobs, losing our home, and moving back in with my parents into the room, my childhood bedroom, as his health deteriorated. There were several times where I thought he died next to me in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And mind you, let's just preface, I think I was about 22, 23 at this point, so very young in hindsight, but felt like I was old and totally wise and able to deal with the situation at hand. And all I was doing was trying to survive, and consistently reminded that I was not the patient. I was just the caregiver. So there was, unfortunate, some toxic, emotional stuff attached to the relationship as well. And one day I came home from yoga, and he had a backpack packed and his passport, and he was like, I am out of here. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So that is the root of the story and the 3 books. And it's blossomed into, just the way bigger details, and going through kind of almost step by step how I felt on those big moments,
Sure.
the good and the bad, because it was beautiful. Like I fell in love with a beautiful person, who loved me strongly, and we got to hang out in South Africa where he was from. I got to go there every winter for a few years, and I would spend my Christmas and New Year's on the beach, and it was 40 degrees and it was beautiful, and some of the best scenery and backdrops in the world, and I got to be there. So the good and the bad. And then the lessons learned, how I kind of picked myself up and figured out how to, find a job and get my butt out of my parents' house when I was in my mid-20s. I was diagnosed with PTSD shortly after that, and I didn't realize that was a thing. Because, I hadn't gone to war, but I had gone through something emotionally traumatic, and
Sure.
that's what happened. And so there was a lot of searching and lessons learned. And you would think that, when he took off with his backpack, that would be my rock bottom, but it definitely wasn't. So there was still some falling to do, and that's just the point of life, is you're gonna get strapped with these really crappy circumstances, and how to get through them, how to be better, how to not continue a cycle and have it happen over and over and over again, is to really sit in it and figure out why you made the decisions, why you didn't listen to the universe, your God, higher power, whatever you want to call it. Like, why didn't you listen to all the signs that were coming, that were hitting you in the face over the years? And then once you kind of figure that answer out, you can work on making it not happen again in the future.
You had a lot thrown at you at a very young age, and to be able to even try to process it, you're in the middle of an avalanche and you don't even know it.
Exactly. It wasn't until I was much older. Well, like I said, I'm only mid-30s, so it's been about 10 years, but it took me 5+ years to figure it out. And you'll notice that there's a big difference, time difference between book 1 and 2 and book 3. And people were like, why are you leaving us hanging here? And I'm like, book 3 can't be written because I haven't lived it yet. So I don't have a good conclusion to this story. I'm still floundering. And then finally, when I was able to finish it, it was fantastic to get it out, and to finally put close that book in more ways than one, literally and metaphorically.
What a catharsis.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And bravo that you were able to come up with a conclusion of chin up, tits out, and really kind of grasp what all happened and how to take life on and say, you know what? I'm the one in charge here. You're not going to get the best of me, and I can do this. There are a lot of people who don't do that for decades and decades or their entire life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. A couple of years ago, a coworker of mine was going through a divorce at 50, and she had read my books, and I work in corporate as well. So she read my books, and we had done a couple business trips together, and she was just like, I wish I would have done this so much longer, or so long ago, or earlier. I wish I didn't waste so much time. And I said, well, you can wish all you want and you can regret all you want, but that's not going to make you feel any better. It's going to make you feel worse. So just be grateful, find gratitude and appreciation in yourself for making that step now and haven't wasted any more time. And then look forward and be excited for what new opportunities are going to come your way. Because if you always kind of look back, you don't have sight as to where you're going. Right. So if you look forward, you can choose the direction and miss the potholes and jump the hurdles. You can see those coming.
Yeah, if you're always looking back, you're going to run into something because you're not going to see it coming.
Exactly.
And there's so many people who sleepwalk through life, I think.
Oh, it hurts my soul. It hurts my soul. You ask people, you're like, oh, so like what's next on your goal list, or what's the next stage? And they're like, I'm happy right here. Okay, good. You know what, if that works for you, that works for you. It doesn't have to work for me.
Some people are just afraid of change too.
They are. I went back to my hometown when I left when I was 18 in northern Quebec, because I knew there's absolutely no hope there. And I went back with my sister about 15 years later, and I could not believe, as we're driving down, it's a small town, about 10,000, and we're driving down the main street, and the same guy we grew up with was pretty sure wearing the same clothes, leaning on the same post he was 15 years ago, watching traffic go by on the street. And we went to our local bar that we used to hang out, and the same people were sitting on the same bar stool, and you wonder, is that the same beer? Like,
right?
It's like we went into a time warp where nothing in their lives had changed. The same people were riding the same bikes, and it was just like, I'm like, Lynn, oh my God, we got to get out of here. Like it was such an eye-opening experience to realize in that 15 years how far her and I had come and traveled the world, and you do this and this and this, and then you go back and these people, there's no change, no, nothing. And I'm like, oh, thank God I'm not like that. Like, thank God that I'm as outspoken and like driven, and that wanting change and to experience and see all things. I think it's a gift and a blessing.
Yes, it is.
Oh, very much so.
Well, humans are not designed to stagnate. And that's exactly what people do. They get stuck in a rut and they just keep digging a hole. I mean, if you keep a vehicle in one spot and just keep rotating the tires, you're going to get yourself into a big, deep hole you can't get out of.
Yeah, exactly. Very much so.
So how do people grasp that? What do you think, Miranda and Kathy? I'm sure there are people who feel like they're stuck. They want so desperately to make some changes and maybe follow their passion, but they don't know how.
I think making a decision, honestly, you have to, no matter where you're at, what rut you're in, because there's ruts throughout different parts of our lives, you have to just stand in that rut and say, look around your circumstances, your situation, say, okay, I got myself here. I'm going to get myself out. Because if you wait for someone to save you, you're going to be waiting a long time. I know I'm talking from experience on that one because I was waiting my whole life for Prince Charming, right, to save me. And then Toothless Joe showed up. Yeah. Not quite the Prince Charming I had envisioned. You got to be specific with your request. But no, I think it starts with just making a firm decision and then taking a step into action.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, Kathy. It's one foot in front of the other. You may have a big dream. It may be to write a book. Who knows? We'll use that for example. If you think about the 30, 40, 50,000 words that it's going to be at the end of it, it's exciting, but it's equally as daunting. So break down, like once you made that mental decision to take the step, break down the steps to manageable steps. Make it, figure out what you can do today, tomorrow, this week, next week, this month, this quarter, this year. Break down your goals. Start with the big ones and then work your way down to the small daily goals. And if you can do that, you look at that daily goal. You don't look at what's 6 months from now. You don't look at what's a year from now. Heck, you don't look at what's a month from now. You look at today, tomorrow, and then you figure out your day around that. It's a lot less daunting and a lot less scary. And then, fly through those days and bam, in a year, you have a book and you're at a book launch and it's exciting. And then you can cry happy tears. Also
know,
speaking from experience.
yeah, me too, on my book writing too, same thing. But one thing I tell the ladies in the shelters that I speak to, because they're in situations that are so overwhelming, is, you know, when life is difficult and you don't know where to go, I always say run when you can, walk if you must, and even crawl if you have to, cry all the way there if need be, but just keep moving. Don't stop, don't stay stagnant. You know, the wheel of life keeps turning. You have to keep going. And even I tell my daughter the same thing, because she's very emotional. Cry all the way there. It doesn't matter, but keep moving. Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. An object in motion is a lot easier to direct and change a path versus get going from stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. If a ball is rolling, all you need to do is gently touch it to change the direction of it. But you have to put so much more force into getting that ball rolling.
To get the momentum.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a good visual for people. Keep moving. You're going to get there eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I think people feel despair, depending on their situation. They don't know where to turn, and sometimes things are so overwhelming. They're not sure where to start, and then they build it up in their heads. Oh, it's just too much. They tell themselves they can't. Oh, it's too huge of an obstacle. I can't take this on.
You know what? I'll tell you a little secret of mine. It's the anticipation. Like, say you're waxing your eyebrows and you put the wax strip on and you're like, oh my God, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. The longer it takes you to pull the wax strip off, the anticipation increases the amount of pain. If you just put it on and rip it off, it's less pain. Maybe I could have used a Band-Aid analogy, but that was what came to my mind, was waxing my eyebrows.
I've had a bad wax job before, and it's like, yeah,
You're right.
Totally
It's
get
the
it.
anticipation. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like, you sit there and you're expecting it, and it hurts, and you're like, oh my gosh. But then when it actually happens, you're like, oh, wasn't that bad?
Yeah. Oh, wasn't that bad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. God.
So maybe we set ourselves up to fail because we're either fearful or we would rather just not do anything.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I think there's comfort in living in blissful naivety. You know, there's a place that I don't ever have to step out of my comfort zone because I am comfortable right now without doing anything more, anything less. But the life ball continues to spin, whether or not we are going to participate in it. And things around us are going to change. If we don't, our world around us will eventually. People get older, the world changes. So eventually your comfort zone or that safe zone is going to change around you. And if you can just change alongside with it or work towards changing it in the direction that you want, right? Yeah. Let it happen to you or you happen to it.
Amen to that. Command the change. Be part of the change. That way you don't feel like you're a victim of change.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like change happens so fast that it's easy to get caught in that whirlwind of a tornado. But if you stay stuck like those guys, like by the people from my past, there's no benefit to life, I think. I really, really, really believe that every next level of your life, because things change constantly, demands a different version of who you need to be. Yeah. Like when I started training on the motor grader, I was very, very insecure and, oh my God, this thing is so big. I mean, what can I do? And now I got comfortable with what I'm doing and I got confident and now I'm training on the biggest dozer in the world. And it requires a whole new level for me to tackle, right? So now all that courage and confidence that I gained with the grader now steps up, helps me move into the next position, right? And I'm more aggressive and more confident where I wasn't 3 years ago. So there's a big difference. So I had to rise to the occasion, basically. Right?
Rise to the occasion. You know what? I can't agree with you more. And from like a personal step a year and a half ago, I had a daughter. I stayed home and I freaked out every little thing. I was like, oh my gosh, she has a cold. Oh my gosh, she has a rash. Oh my gosh, she has a fever. Oh my gosh, I can't do this. Postpartum is hard. And 8 weeks ago, I had twin boys. And in my life, I never.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
Great.
you. Yeah, I would never imagine, like, my daughter was a walk in the park, like a walk in the park compared to these boys. We as a family of 5 have been sick for at least 6 out of 8 of those weeks. Like, I'm pretty sure one of my sons has always had a congested nose because he snorts. Like, he's just a snorer. He sounds like a little pig. And he's so cute. We're like, oh, that's just him. And his nickname is Groot. Like, I am Groot. And we looked at each other like, maybe it's just congestion. Like, maybe he's had blocked nose and blocked sinuses since day one. Like, I don't know. So we're really, but anyways, totally went off on a tangent there about my son's congestion. But I never thought that I could deal with twins by myself. I mean, with my husband, of course, but it's been a wild ride and it's not been easy, but I've survived it and I'm pretty darn happy and feel balanced and not overwhelmed and not stressed. I mean, there's daily stresses, of course, and I'm sleep deprived and I don't know when I washed my hair. I think it was yesterday, but it could have been 3 days ago. But, like every chapter of your life, you're right, it requires a stronger version of you or a different version of you. And you can, choose to rise to the occasion or to let life kind of dictate and take you where it's going to go. So yeah, that's my greatest feat lately.
And you probably look back and go, I'm pretty amazing. I actually could take this on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was prepping for the worst. I was like, hey, everybody in the family, y'all just need to come over every day. And, everybody in their lives has their own lives. So that didn't happen. And I was panicking. My husband so graciously pointed out, he's just like, but darling, you're doing this by yourself right now. And I'm like, yeah. Look at that. I am, aren't I? So yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of an outsider to remind you. And again, there's always that time for self-practice and self-reflection, and still trying to find that balance, but it's only been 8 weeks. So we're going to get there.
I'd say you're doing terrifically.
Oh, yeah.
And, maybe people need to be able to take a step back and give yourself a round of applause.
Oh, totally.
That's something people don't do either.
No, because, well, why would we? People, the outsiders might call us pretentious or conceited or too full of themselves. But I mean, if you're not going to be your biggest cheerleader, why would you expect anybody else to cheer with you for you?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to do that right now. Patting myself on the back. Yay, Kathy!
Yay!
You're right, Miranda, Kathy, Shelley. Yes, yay!
All of us, we rock, man.
We'll be the cheering section.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is building a positive image of trucking by telling the story of the hardworking drivers and industry professionals who support the industry. And you can be a part of it. Learn more about TMAF and how you can join and be a part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting TMAF's website at truckingmovesamerica.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our latest channel, TikTok.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
I've often wondered, and this has run through my head. Of course, I have a lot of weird things that run through my head. When we're children, we get all kinds of accolades just because we're kids and we're cute and people think everything we do is funny or whatever. As adults, we don't get that anymore.
No.
No.
And when you do compliment somebody like that, maybe not in like the high-pitched, really child-friendly voice, but when you do compliment somebody, they'll look at you and go, yeah, but, or yeah, and, like expecting something negative to come post that. And I'm like, no, I'm just complimenting you. I'm just showing my appreciation for you, or my gratitude, or maybe I'm proud of you for something that you've done. I've done that to my best friend. I'm like, I'm very proud of you for that. She's like, that's weird, but what did I do wrong? I said, nothing. I just thought you should know that choice in your life makes me proud of your growth. She's like, oh, thank you. So yeah, people think it's weird as adults to get that. It bugs me.
We're conditioned not to get it. It's almost like they shut the door on compliments and appreciation, and we just kind of meander through life. And I think we're still seeking that. But then when we do get the compliments, a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, they kind of reject the compliment. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
They're not supposed to have it.
Oh, I do that. I'll do that. Somebody will compliment me and I will throw it down. They're like, oh, you look fantastic today. I'm like, oh, thank you. I showered. Well, no, that person is complimenting me on my whole being looking good today, 8 weeks postpartum, not I showered today. But I'm the first person to like not take a compliment seriously. And I've been called upon that on many occasions, and I try to work on it, but because I'm the first one to like randomly applaud somebody for the smallest little, decision that they've made and chose to share with me.
When I was in treatment in that women's center for a year, one of the exercises we had to do for our self-esteem, because there's 25 women that live in this house, we had to, I think it was for 2 weeks straight for the duration of this module that we were working on, we had to randomly give compliments to each other. And when you received a compliment, you had to just say thank you and leave it at that. That was one of the hardest things to accept, because number one, everybody in there was come lots of sexual abuse, lots of domestic violence, addiction, all sorts of stuff. So your self-esteem is really shot. So it sounds easy, just accepting a compliment, but when you feel really crappy, when you've been brainwashed into believing that you're no good, just saying something as simple as thank you is really hard, really hard.
Yeah.
And it took some time, and you could see most women, myself included, you're uncomfortable in your skin, you're shuffling, you're kind of awkward and trying to just accept to say, hey, you look great today, or man, nice makeup job, or man, what'd you do to your hair, or something like that. As simple as that. Difficult to say, just say thank you. But at the same time, it was very healing, because it showed us slowly, step by step, that you are beautiful, and you're like that butterfly, for the caterpillar and the butterfly thing. You're transforming yourself, and it starts by accepting just how awesome you are.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Another one they had us do was to look in a mirror. We were all sitting in a circle, and they gave us all a mirror, and you think, and just sit there and look at yourself. Wow. Oh my God. The amount of emotional outbursts that came through that one exercise was over the top. I personally lost it. Like I could not, like some women were breaking the mirror. They could not look at themselves. They could not stand who they were. They carrying decades of guilt and shame and whatnot. It was very, very traumatic just to look at yourself. I mean, think how deep the wounds are, right? If you can't even look. And I know, just saying that, I'm pretty sure some listeners who are listening, when they go in the bathroom in the morning, they really quickly, brush their teeth, wash their hair, and put their makeup on, if they put makeup on, without actually standing there fully embracing their own beauty,
Yeah.
So
women are really hard on themselves.
Oh, very much.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very much.
We're conditioned by the media with the advertising and everything else, and just the perception of perfection. And no one's perfect. And we look in the mirror and we go, oh, I need to lose a few pounds. And oh, what the heck's on my face today? We don't go, oh, wow, I look pretty good today. I like myself.
Oh, yeah. That, what? I didn't realize how much I did that until I had a daughter. And then when my daughter started watching me and mimicking me, and I was like, oh, girl, you got to change what you say to yourself, because if she's already mimicking me at a year, These are like deep core self values that you are instilling now, that you and her don't even realize. So yeah, I'm like, sure, I got to lose weight to become healthy, or healthier. I love that my body has grown 3 humans in 2 years. I love that I'm still able to walk and breathe and, do everything on my own. And the weight will come off. I was pregnant for 3 years straight. It's not going to come off in 2 months. It'll take 3 years. Like I told you, three months pregnant, 3 months post pregnancy, and if I don't see changes, then you take the next step. But just try to live your life and enjoy and be healthy as much as you can be for the next 3 years. And watch how you talk to yourself, love yourself for it, be outwardly loving, because my kid is watching. And I don't want her to, I mean, we all do it. Again, media, right? Conditions us. It's going to be out there. But if I can try to do this for her, I'm going to benefit in the long run. So
positive messaging when you're growing up, it's huge. It really is. And you are what you see.
Yeah.
We have that conditioning and in imprinting. It's really good that you think about that. I don't think everybody does, that they've got little ones with big ears, big eyes, and they're watching.
Oh my gosh. And the interactions between parents, like how that affects what kind of partner you choose in the long run.
Yeah.
Oh, holy moly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
yep.
Huge, eyes wide open. Like we just sit there and, my partner and I, we talk all the deep talks all the time. And that's how we've been since day one. And I think that is why we have a very healthy relationship. But it's hard work. It's maintenance to have those talks about the uncomfortable things, and to have those talks about, okay, how we speak to each other and how we treat each other is how our children are going to do with their partners in the future. So we got to set an example. Like if we have a disagreement, we're 2 very different people, 2 very different people. We need to show them how we can have a conversation about having a disagreement and not make it volatile, not make it toxic, make it productive, competent, constructive communication, saying words with intent, using your tone and inflection with intent, choosing the right words over other words just to get some spicy, to avoid the little spicy zingers that you really want to throw in a disagreement. Yeah. But like, that's not helpful. So it takes practice and constant work. But yeah, we've sat down and had lots of discussions about it over the last year and a half.
Miranda, you've got a lot of wisdom. This is wonderful.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Kathy DeCaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry, our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy DeCaro.
So your books, you have what, 3 in the series? What are the titles?
I have, first one is Remember No Matter What, Chin Up, Tits Out.
Mhm.
The second one is When All Else Fails, Chin Up, Tits Out. And the third one is Just Breathe, Chin Up, Tits Out.
Love it.
Nice. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Love it.
Uh-huh. Where do people find the books?
You can find book 1 and 2 on Amazon, and you can find book 3 on my website. We're doing a cover redesign on book 3. And so then I'll eventually be launching the cover design. It will also be on Amazon. Yeah, so that is where you can find my books. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'd be happy to mail you signed copies as well.
And your website is spelled OH.com. So it's
Yes.
MirandaO.com. I love your name, Miranda O. That's great.
It's, you know what, it is a pen name because, like I said, I do work in corporate. So keeping tits and corporate separate is, it was a big important thing. My boss is like, you know what, I don't care what you do in your spare time, but do not let it mix with your professional life here. And I said, fair enough. I appreciate you letting me do this because, you know, not all employers would encourage it. But yeah, he was super supportive. The entire company has been super supportive. And I've been there for what feels like a lifetime, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, Miranda OOH is a pen name. Miranda is actually my legal middle name, but I answer to it anyways. I like it. It's a little spicy.
I love it. What made you come up with O?
My mother's maiden name starts with an O, and my first name starts with an H. So it was just kind of worked out, the initials.
Well, it's very catchy and people remember it.
Oh, yeah, I thought so too. It has a nice ring to it, and it's short, even though the first name is long.
You want to be in an advertising department. Chin up, tits out.
Right, people
slogans.
Right, people we judge books by its cover. I mean, I do have a college diploma, and part of it was advertising, so I did learn a couple of things when I was in college, but really sales is I have a huge background in sales. A lot of my jobs have been in different sales. I've sold toilets to temporary tattoos to cars, to insurance. So literally I have, I probably could find a way to sell ice to an Eskimo, but it might take me a little while to come up with a spiel that would, you know, actually work as a sale pitch. But hey, that's nor here nor there. So
this is great. You've got some great messages, and I think that there are a lot of ladies that will get a lot out of your books. This is terrific.
Thank you. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to share.
Yeah, it was really, really, and you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Today, of all days, was the best time we could have had this conversation. I struggle through a lot of things sometimes that, you know, nobody really knows, and I needed this conversation today.
Yeah,
I was really struggling, borderline with depression, and just kind of like, oh my God, and it's hard to let go and let God, and just, you know, not let the voices in my head hold me down and keep me there. So everything we talked about today, know this, that it helped me. So thank you very much.
Oh, good. You know what? It did the same thing for me. This is my first podcast since the twins were born. And postpartum has been, again, easier from the first time, but postpartum is never easy. And so it's been challenging the last few weeks. So it's good to put on my big girl voice and my big girl panties again and just be out here with you ladies and spend the time with you. So I liken that. It's been very mentally stimulating and pleasing for me. I needed it.
I'm invigorated. Absolutely. I want to jog around the house.
I want you to envision me tonight on my grater and my coveralls and my hard hat, standing tall, chin up, and tits out.
Good. Right. I will have that envisioned in my memory all evening. I'm going to dream about it. It's going to be good. Right. Yeah.
This is great. Thank you, Miranda. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
What an inspirational guest. Be sure to check out Miranda O. You can find her on her website, MirandaO, that's spelled OH.com, or just type Chin Up, Tits Out, and Miranda O's name. Great book, great title, great author. Check it out.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at info@tncradio.live.
Thank you for listening to another great interview on tncradio.live. And don't forget, be sure to subscribe to our podcast of Women Road Warriors. It's free. All of the material you hear on tncradio.live, on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of tncradio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live.